A human lit a Christmas tree for an alien girl. The Queen Mother saw everything. The crystal palace of the Kellerin was built to last forever. Its walls rose like frozen light, sharp and perfect, reflecting the pale glow of the distant star. Everything inside the palace was silent, controlled, and measured. No sound was wasted. No emotion was shown without purpose. This was how the Kellerin survived for thousands of cycles. The humans were guests here, but they always felt like visitors in a museum that never changed. Elias Ward stood alone in his assigned quarters, looking at a small metal box resting on the table. The room around him was clean and beautiful, but empty in a way that made his chest feel tight. Smooth crystal walls, floating lights, and air that was always the same temperature. No warmth, no smell, no life. He opened the box slowly. Inside were fragile ornaments, thin strings of lights, and a small artificial tree folded into pieces. The items looked out of place here, like something from another world, which they were. Christmas was not on any official schedule. There were no days off for it, no decorations allowed in shared spaces. The Kellerin did not understand holidays, and the Human Council had decided not to push the issue. Too emotional, too irrational. Still, Elias had brought it. He had grown up lighting Christmas trees in small apartments, during blackouts, during wars, during years when food was short and hope was thinner. His mother used to say that the light mattered most when it was hardest to make. Carefully, Elias assembled the tree in the corner of the room. It was small, barely reaching his chest. He wrapped the lights around it slowly, checking each wire twice. He hung the ornaments one by one, each carrying a quiet memory he did not speak out loud. When he was done, he hesitated. Then he turned the lights on. The room changed. Soft, warm light pushed back the cold glow of the palace. Shadows danced gently on the crystal walls. For the first time since arriving on Kellerin Prime, the room felt human. Elias smiled just a little. He did not know he was being watched. On the other side of the partially open doorway stood Princess Salith. She was small for her kind, her form slender and pale, her large eyes reflecting light like polished glass. Royal guards were meant to keep her within strict paths, but Salith had learned the palace better than they had. She liked quiet places, empty corridors, corners where no one noticed her curiosity. She had followed the human without realizing it. Now she stood frozen, staring at the strange, glowing object in his room. The light was different from anything she had seen. Not bright like energy panels, not sharp like crystal lamps. This light was soft, kind. It did not demand attention, it invited it. Elias sensed movement and turned. They stared at each other in silence. "I'm sorry," Elias said quickly, stepping back. "I didn't mean to, I didn't know anyone was there." "What is that?" she asked. Her voice was careful, as if words were dangerous things. Elias glanced at the tree, then back at her. For a moment he wondered if this was a mistake that would end his assignment. "It's a Christmas tree," he said, "from Earth. But it represents life, because it makes us feel less alone. But some things are worth a little risk. Why do humans celebrate this time?" Salith listened as if these ideas were treasures. Unnoticed by both of them, another presence observed from far above. The Queen Mother stood behind a crystal veil, her tall form wrapped in flowing ceremonial layers. Her eyes, ancient and sharp, watched the human and the child with careful attention. She had ruled through logic alone for centuries. Emotion had been set aside long ago. It was inefficient, dangerous. And yet she did not order the lights turned off. She did not summon the guards. She watched. As the small tree continued to glow in the cold palace, something old and forgotten stirred in her memory. The secret of the glowing tree did not stay a secret for long. In a palace where silence ruled, even the smallest change created ripples. Servants noticed unusual light leaking from a human room during rest cycles. Guards sensed altered movement patterns. Whispers moved through crystal corridors, careful and quiet, but impossible to stop. Elias knew the risk the moment Salith began visiting more often. She came not just to watch anymore, but to sit, sometimes on the floor, Sometimes on the low human chair he pulled close to the tree. She liked to be near the lights as if they were telling her something she had never learned before. "What happens next?" she asked one night. Elias looked up from adjusting a loose wire. "Next. This is just the beginning." Salith listened closely. "Your people choose light," she said slowly, testing the idea, "even when darkness is natural." To scholars she asked why humans kept traditions that logic could not fully explain. The palace noticed. The Kellerin Council noticed even more. They gathered in a chamber of pure crystal, light bending perfectly through its walls. Images floated in the air, data, projections, behavior analysis. "Human influence is increasing," one counselor said calmly. "The royal air displays altered emotional patterns." "There is a difference." Elias noticed guards watching him more closely. He knew time was running out. That night, Salith arrived later than usual. Her movements were rushed, her breathing uneven. "They are watching you," she said softly. "I know," Elias replied. "They say you are dangerous." "They do not mean physical danger." "Because before this everything felt correct, but empty. This makes things feel real." "You have influenced my daughter," she said. Elias bowed his head. "I never intended harm." "When things are taken from us, we create meaning to replace them. Emotion weakened us once." Without warning, the palace energy grid failed. Lights vanished. Crystal walls went dim. Automated systems fell silent. Panic spread in sharp, controlled bursts. External interference. Sabotage. The Kellerin relied on perfect systems. Without them, confusion followed. Humans reacted differently. They moved. Elias grabbed emergency packs, manual generators, and old-fashioned glow lamps. Other humans did the same. They shared light freely, guiding confused servants, calming frightened citizens. Salith stood alone in a dark corridor when Elias found her. She looked small without the palace glow. "It's gone," she whispered. "The light." There he plugged the tree into a manual power source. The lights flickered, then glowed, warm, steady. People gathered, aliens, humans, servants, guards. They stood silently, watching the small tree shine against the darkness. For the first time, the palace felt alive. From above, the Queen Mother watched as well. And this time her expression changed. The darkness did not end quickly. The palace system struggled to recover, and every moment without power exposed how much the Kellerin depended on perfect order. Automated doors stayed locked. Climate controls failed in some sectors. Communication grids flickered in and out like uncertain thoughts. In the central halls, confusion spread. Servants moved without guidance. Guards waited for commands that did not arrive. Scholars argued over data that no longer updated. And yet, around one small tree, things were different. The humans worked quietly and steadily. They shared portable lights, checked on injured staff, and guided lost individuals through dark corridors. They spoke calmly, even joked softly, as if chaos was something they understood well. Elias stayed near the tree, adjusting the generator when needed. Salith sat beside it, her eyes fixed on the lights. She had not let go of his hand when they arrived, and he had not asked her to. "What if it goes out?" she asked. "Then we light it again," Elias replied. She nodded as if committing the answer to memory. The Queen Mother arrived without announcement. No guards preceded her. No ceremonial sound marked her presence. She stepped into the circle of light and watched the gathered beings in silence. Aliens stood beside humans. Some sat on the floor. Others leaned against walls, drawn toward warmth they did not fully understand. No one spoke when they noticed her. Salith rose quickly, fear flashing across her face. "Mother." "Stay," she said. Her gaze moved from the tree to Elias. "You used this as a rally point," she said. Elias did not deny it. People needed something stable. The Queen Mother studied him, searching for deception. She found none. The external threat became clear soon after. The neighboring species that had argued over trade routes had launched a targeted energy disruption, believing the Kellerin too dependent on technology to respond quickly. It was not meant to destroy the palace, only to weaken it and force negotiation. The plan worked. But not completely. The Kellerin military systems failed without coordination. Defense platforms went offline. The enemy ships hovered at the edge of the system, waiting. Humans noticed first. They were used to failure, used to broken tools and bad situations. Human engineers gathered, using limited scanners and manual readings. They shared information quickly, without rank slowing them down. "We can't bring everything back," one said, "but we can redirect power." "You do not wait for permission," she observed. "No," Elias said, "we wait for results." The council members argued sharply. "This chaos proves humans are dangerous," one said. "They disrupt order." "They assumed emotion was weakness," she continued. "They were wrong." Instead, they saw cooperation, light where there should have been none. The palace defenses came back online just enough to show resistance. It was enough. The enemy withdrew, choosing caution over confrontation. Cheers did not echo through the palace. The Kellerin did not celebrate that way, but something changed. The lights slowly returned. Systems stabilized. Order reasserted itself. Yet many did not leave the tree. They lingered. Salith looked up at her mother. "They stayed," she said, "even when they could leave." "My people once felt deeply," she said. "We loved, we feared, we celebrated. The light made us strong tonight. But not as a secret." Some felt something they could not name. Salith stood proudly beside it, and for the first time in generations, the palace of crystal contained something imperfect, something fragile, something human, and it did not weaken them. The palace returned to its perfect rhythm, but it was not the same palace anymore. The crystal walls still shone. The systems still worked with precision. The schedule still ruled daily life. Yet in the center of it all stood the tree, glowing softly, refusing to disappear. At first, many Kellerin avoided it. They passed the central hall quickly, eyes forward, steps measured. The light did not fit their understanding of order. It was unnecessary, decorative, emotional, but it did not go away. Humans continued to pass by it, sometimes stopping, sometimes touching the ornaments gently, sometimes just standing in silence. They spoke quietly near it, sharing memories from worlds far away. Salith visited every cycle. She no longer needed to sneak. She sat beside the tree openly now, watching its lights reflect in the crystal floor. Guards no longer questioned her presence. Servants no longer whispered warnings. The Queen Mother allowed it all. She observed from above, from balconies and chambers where rulers before her had watched the galaxy move like a board of pieces. She saw something new happening, something not written in data. The people were changing, not all at once, not loudly, but slowly. A servant paused one day, staring at the tree longer than necessary. A guard lingered instead of moving on. A scholar reached out and touched one of the crystal ornaments, then quickly pulled his hand back as if surprised by his own action. The Queen Mother felt it too. At first, it was discomfort. The light pulled at memories she had buried long ago. Images of her own childhood surfaced, warm chambers, shared meals, laughter before silence became law. She had ruled for centuries believing she had cut weakness away. Now she wondered what else she had cut with it. The cycle of the shared celebration arrived without announcement. No council decree was made. No official order was given. It started with humans. They placed simple items beneath the tree, not valuable things, small tools, handcrafted objects, old symbols of Earth. They explained to curious Kellerin that gifts were not about worth but thought. Salith listened closely. "May I give something too?" she asked Elias. "Of course," he said. She disappeared for a while and returned carrying a small crystal shard. It glowed faintly with internal energy. "This was part of the palace when it was first built," she said. "It represents survival." The Queen Mother watched the gathering grow until she could no longer stay hidden. She descended into the hall. The room fell silent. All eyes turned toward her tall form as she approached the tree. She stopped beside it and looked down at the lights. "They endure," she said quietly. "Yes," Elias replied. "They're meant to." You taught my people something without demanding they learn it. My people survived by becoming efficient, she continued. Humans survived by becoming resilient. Not as imitation, but as integration. Kellerin no longer felt distant observers. They began to speak of the future together. The neighboring species watched from afar, confused. Their intelligence reports showed something impossible, unity born not from force but from shared meaning. They did not challenge the alliance again. Elias prepared to return to Earth when his assignment ended. His bags were packed, his reports filed. On his final cycle, he stood alone beside the tree. Salith joined him quietly. "You are leaving," she said. "Yes," he replied, "but not forever. Because one day, someone did it for us. That even the oldest civilizations can learn." Humanity was remembered not as conquerors, not as saviors, but as the species that refused darkness, not by fighting it, but by proving it was never absolute. And in a palace of crystal meant to last forever, something truly eternal had finally taken root.